Michael, who is 10 years old, is standing on the edge of a cliff with his arms extended to the side. He decides to jump off despite his extreme fear. Time travel is used to rewind events. Because his mother is expecting a second child, Michael's family is about to move into a larger house. They discover that the house is in terrible condition when they arrive. Michael informs his parents that moving here was a bad idea due to the building's apparent state of disrepair. He could do without the way that he needs to move on account of the second youngster, besides, into such an unpleasant house. The family begins to settle in after the decision is made. The kid requests that authorization take the room close to the restroom, however the guardians will give it to the infant. On the other hand, Michael gets a room in the attic that is full of bugs and dust. This clearly makes him unhappy, and he becomes jealous of the baby. Michael's mother suggests that he skip school in the morning and assist her with housework. At first the kid is blissful, yet he discovers that his mom intends to make fixes to the child's nursery with him. Then, he probably remembers a crucial test and is upset when he goes to school. At the pool, the PE educator advises the kid to climb the stage to finish the plunging assessment. However, Michael is unable to do so due to his fear of heights. As a result, his classmates bully him in the shower, but his best friend Licky stands up for him. The boy decides to enter the neglected barn in the house's garden after school. A terrifying male voice asks him who is there from the shadows. Scared, Michael runs as quick as possible back home. He calls an ambulance after finding his mother crouching in pain there. Michael is informed by his father at the hospital that his sister was born to his mother. The baby girl, on the other hand, was born prematurely and was placed in an exclusive incubator. Michael forgets all his hurt feelings as soon as he sees his sister and falls in love with her. Michael makes another attempt to enter the barn the following day. He will not give up on finding out who lives there. But his father doesn't let his son go to the junk-filled barn because he thinks it would be dangerous for a child. Naturally, the boy ignores him and runs off to look around. He meets an odd-looking girl sitting on his fence in the yard. She politely introduces herself as Mina and informs him that she is the only neighbor they have in the entire vicinity. Michael continues to be unfriendly after a brief exchange, and the girl walks away. In the hope of seeing someone inside, the boy looks curiously through the barn window. After that, he goes inside and finds a very unkempt man in a corner dressed in rags. Michael is told to leave by the exhausted tramp as the thief raises his hand. Michael rushes to inform his father of the homeless man, but he accidentally overhears his father worryingly talking on the phone. The doctors decide to keep the newborn baby girl under observation at the hospital because her condition has gotten worse. The boy keeps quiet about what he saw in the barn to avoid further upsetting his father. Licky extends an invitation to a friend at school to attend a sporting event where the friend will perform a diving board jump. He hears about Michael's encounter with the homeless man in his barn. The kid is worried that the man looked very frail and wiped out. Licky tells his friend to run away from the man as soon as possible and forget about him. During class, Michael is shocked to track down an entire multitude of bugs in his work area. The lesson is cut short when his terrified classmates immediately start screaming. Returning, the kid is come by Mina, who out of the blue leaps in front of him from a tree. Michael sees the strange girl's bird drawings. To the boy's annoyance, she continues to inquire about his interests. Mina immediately leaves after pointing out a bug in her neighbor's hair. Michael chooses to pay one more visit to the vagrant. He is sickened to find that the peculiar man is eating slugs and bugs in the stable. The kind boy says he can get him normal food and offers to help. According to the man, the numbers 27 and 53 are very tasty. The boy is then chased away and told to forget about him. While the guardians are worriedly conversing with the specialists, Michael meets a sweet old woman named Effortlessness at the clinic. Regardless of her age, she is loaded with inspiration and says that the central thing in life isn't to surrender. However, in such a setting, it's hard for the boy to avoid becoming discouraged. He carefully listens to his sister's heartbeat and compares it to his own by inserting a stethoscope into her incubator. Mina surprises her neighbor once more at home. Nevertheless, she is the only one who inquires about Michael's condition regarding his sister. Additionally, she discloses to her new acquaintance that she is educated at home. She enjoys the outdoors and is captivated by the poems of William Black, who wandered the garden naked and saw angels. Michael believes that he is just a liar. The boy thinks of the homeless man's wish as his father orders food delivery that evening. He asks for dishes 27 and 53 to be ordered. Michael brings the food that was left over from the trash to the barn at night. The homeless man praises the boy's resourcefulness as he devours the food with his hands. The man asks Michael why he helps him because there must be someone else who still requires assistance. The boy sadistically responds that he cannot assist others while thinking of his sister. Michael observes a hump on the homeless man's back as he begins to splutter with a heavy cough. He wonders what it is, but the man tells him to leave once more. Prior to leaving, he gets a quill that was lying close to the man. The elderly woman shows Michael pictures of her son the following day at the hospital. She informs him that although he has promised to visit her this weekend, he is extremely busy. Today, Michael's parents are bringing his little sister home, which he announces with joy. He asks Grace if her hands hurt and tells her about the ill homeless man who lives in his barn after thinking about it. Michael really wants to help him, but the man doesn't want to live and seems to be waiting for the end. The elderly lady gives him grapes and encourages him not to give up on his quest. The father has partially cleaned the family's home before they return. Around evening time, Michael is stirred by his sister's crying. He inquires about the baby as he enters his mother's room. The lady is agreeably astounded by her child's anxiety and guarantees him that his sister will be fine. A physical education class is held at the school stadium on a new day. Michael is warned by the instructor in a mocking manner not to jump too high to avoid being scared. The boy accelerates and leaps as his jovial classmates turn their attention elsewhere. He leaps as high as 6 feet, but nobody notices. Michael gives the homeless man some aspirin in the evening, but he spits it out in disgust. The man mocks him and calls children useless creatures, after hearing the little girl cry. The youngster inquires about the homeless man's knowledge of the menu's numbers. The strange man admits that he used to come out of the barn to look through the trash left behind by the house's previous owners. He fondly recalls discovering an unfinished dark beer bottle there. The boy is surprised that the previous owner's barn never contained a homeless person. The man says individuals frequently don't see him or simply believe he's fanciful. Michael says with a grin that he doesn't know what kind of being he is. Toward the end of the week, Licky and Michael are playing shooting matchups in the forest. His friend really doesn't like it when Licky plans to shoot a defenseless hare. Michael notices the furry animal's eyes suddenly have a strange gleam. He takes off, detecting that something awful is going on at home. He can hear his parents arguing, so his intuition is correct. The baby needs to be brought back to the hospital right away, the doctors tell them. The mother faults the dad for bringing them to this horrendous house without focal warming. She is terrified of losing her infant daughter. It turns out that the parents had to wait a long time to have a second child after Michael was born. The homeless man begins to cry during this time when he hears the baby crying and sees his reflection disappearing on the television screen. The grown-ups leave with the child to the emergency clinic, letting their child home be. Michael kicks bushes in the yard out of frustration. The barn's wind rises as a result, causing an earthquake. The vagrant moans vigorously and watches doomfully. In the meantime, some systems are connected to the little sister of the boy and she is returned to the incubator. Nina pays Michael a second visit. She asks the boy to take a walk when she finds out that he is upset about his sister. He is taken deep into the woods by the girl, where they see a tall, decommissioned tower. She claims that she comes here for reflection. Michael receives counsel from Mina to express his feelings freely as the children settle down by the river. She has frequently wept after her father's death. The boy learns to imitate birdsong as he empathizes with Mina and eventually comes to understand the strange girl. Michael's parents are becoming increasingly irritated and staring anxiously at their infant daughter inside the incubator. The boy's father loses his temper and rarely talks to him. Michael decides to go see the homeless man because he is lonely and sad. He is alarmed to see that as the man looks alive. In order to check his breathing, the youngster holds a mirror up to his nose. Michael is surprised when the homeless man abruptly regains consciousness. He informs the man regarding his sister's condition and the specialist's disheartening guess. The homeless man says that people die every day and responds with indifference to these words. Be that as it may, Michael is fed up with seeing miserable individuals around him in inaction. He tells the man who is homeless that he wants to help him. I'm attempting to help you, I simply believe that should ever figure things out. The collapse of this barn is near. What's more, don't you see, you're awful and mean. I'm burned out on you. The man mockingly asserts that Michael can transport the entire community to the barn. The kid leaves him, and the vagrant ponders and can't help thinking about what he has said. Afterward, Michael carries Mina to the animal dwelling place and acquaints her with the man. In his usual manner, the homeless man is impolite to his new acquaintance. The kid gives him a dim brew, which he appreciates drinking. Mina notices when she touches the man's hand that he is too cold, like he has died. She then expertly gets into the subject of human ossification. Mina tells her friend after the encounter that the homeless man doesn't look like a normal person. Michael's father is irritated when he finds new flaws in the house. In order to replace the floorboard in his son's room, he is about to head to the barn to purchase planks. Michael actively jumps on the bed to distract and stop him. In the long run, the floor breakdowns and the kid tumbles to the primary floor with a shout. Michael smiles as he accepts his father's apology upon his return. Michael sees Grace once more at the hospital in the evening. The elderly woman helps the boy feel better and gives him fish oil capsules to give to the homeless man. She regrettably mentions that her son never came to visit. The elderly woman is pleased with Michael's offer to come see her instead. However, Grace warns that when she goes out to dance, they might miss each other. The boy doesn't take Grace's words seriously because he doesn't know what they mean. Michael's mother breaks the news to the family in the ward with a tearful expression that the young girl's heart is not working properly. The specialists attempt to give their very best. However, the young lady needs a muddled activity. Michael's grieving father consumes bottle after bottle of dark beer at home. He finds it surprising that there weren't more bottles. With sharpness in his voice, the man lets his child know that he laments moving into the house. The garden's loud noises wake Michael up in the middle of the night. His dad, who has been drinking excessively, chooses to vent his annoyance and put a match to the old stable. The boy tries to stop him as hard as he can, but his father forces him back to the house. Michael enters the barn subtly while the father looks for matches. He makes an effort to persuade the homeless man to flee, but he refuses to fight for his life. The decrepit building is set on fire by the father. In any case, Michael tosses the vagrant onto his shoulders and figures out how to save him from the blazes. The boy tries to comfort his weeping father by leaving him in the woods for the time being. "My little girl, Michael, she's so small, what can I do?" Subsequent to taking care of his dad, Michael hurries to Mina's home for help and shows her his hand consumed in the fire. Together, the kids take the exhausted vagrant to the pinnacle in the forest. The man calls himself Skellig and claims to be as old as the earth before falling asleep. The following day, the kids give the homeless man food and decide to take off his old coat. They are shocked to find that he has wings outgrowing his shoulders. The curious children decide to look for the homeless man's wings in some books in order to determine what kind of being Skellig is. His wings, on the other hand, do not resemble those of insects, birds, or even angels. Mina fantasizes that she and Michael could also change and live forever as she studies the evolution of birds. In the meantime, Michael's classmates sneak into his yard and listen in on what he's saying. The boy decides to stop talking to the boys after they start making fun of him and Mina. The kids sneak back into the high tower in the middle of the night. They are taken aback when they discover that Skellig has stood up and is already eating mice on his own. Taking note, the 12 p.m. visitors, he requests that they draw nearer and hold his hands. Them three take off. Also, start surrounding in the air. Skellig asks the kids to keep this night in mind when they land. Michael notices that his burned arm has healed as he leaves the tower. The happy kid gets back and draws a picture of Skellig. Concerned that his son is always away, his father enters his bedroom. He also asks Michael where his beer has gone, but the boy is unable to respond. The mindful kids bring Skellig sacks of food and medication. They wish for the being to gain strength and regain its ability to fly. The man is taken to the river by the children, where they clean his wings of dirt. He lets them take care of him, despite the fact that he continues to complain. The children start to get cold as the clouds suddenly get thicker. After that, Skellig spreads his wings and looks up at the sky. The children are warmed by the sun breaking through the clouds. Michael goes back to school later. In class, Licky gives him a note helping him to remember the impending plunging competition. However, due to the fact that his sister's condition has once again deteriorated, the boy must immediately return home. Michael begs Skellig to heal his little sister the same way he cured the boy's arm as he ran as fast as he could to the tower. But the magical creature pushes the boy away and says he can't help anyone else. Skellig tragically unsettles Michael's hair and apologizes to him. He hasn't believed in himself in a long time and thinks he's worthless. Michael skips his friend's competition because of what's going on. Licky misses an important jump when he realizes that no one is watching. Michael spends the night at Mina's house because he is upset. He admits that he did not want his sister in the past. The boy holds himself responsible for his mother's premature birth and his refusal to relocate. Mina backs her friend and says she understands the feeling. She also used to put the blame on herself and believed that her father's death was caused by her bad behavior. Yet, as a matter of fact, he was simply worn out on life and chosen to early end it. Michael asks his father to drive him to the hospital in the morning so that he can be with his family during the procedure. The father tells his son to go to school because he is so opposed to this. They get into a fight with each other. Michael yells and says that his father hasn't talked to him in a long time and hasn't even told him that they want a second child. The father eventually gives him a hug and lets him accompany him to the hospital. While his sister is in a medical procedure, Michael chooses to visit effortlessness. He receives the sad news from the nurses that the elderly lady has passed away. The troubled boy thinks back to Grace's advice, in which she advised him not to give up. Skellig's faith will be restored by the boy. He surges as quick as possible into the high pinnacle. When Licky, armed, sees his friend speeding by, he decides to follow him. He confronts Michael at the tower door and makes the claim that Michael did not attend the competitions. The youngster is baffled as to why his friend has distanced himself from him and spends every free moment with the bizarre Mina. Licky is asked to stay out of Michael's way because time is running out. Licky gets angry and decides to go to the top of the tower to see what his friend is hiding there. Michael tries to warn Skellig of the danger after the children get into a fight. Licky is about to shoot a scared white owl that he sees at the top. After that, Michael pushes his friend and yells at him to run away. At the lower part of the pinnacle, Skellig approaches Michael and tensely looks at his injuries from the battle. The boy tries to persuade the creature that he can fly and is not hopeless. I put stock in you. Even if you don't think you can do it. Michael remains on the edge of the precipice, spreading his arms out to his sides. He jumps off, closing his eyes. Skellig catches him just before the water surface, but he manages to fly away. He launches the youngster into the air, and the two of them joyfully soar above the countryside that surrounds them. Michael's sister's medical procedure closes. The specialist lets the medical attendant know that the young lady is probably not going to endure the evening. At night, Skellig slips into the emergency clinic. Inconspicuous by people, he enters the room where Michael's mother is lying in a chair next to her daughter and has fallen asleep. Skellig takes the baby out of the incubator and carries her up into the air with him. They begin to twirl together after he gives the tiny creature his affectionate glance. The baby's vital signs return to normal in the morning, and she improves significantly. The strange dream in which the mother saw a filthy man with wings is recounted by the mother to the family. Nonetheless, the lady was not terrified of him. She was absolutely certain that he had arrived to assist them. Michael grins at what he hears. He proposes that his parents give their newborn sister the name Grace. Michael's life returns to typical. Returning, his dad sings tunes and grins joyfully. The kid wipes the slate clean with Licky and comes to his next contest. When the baby sister finally gets home, she finds a lovely, bright room waiting for her. The kids toss Skellig an outing close to the precipice with his #1 food varieties. He thanks Michael for restoring his confidence in himself. It is time to say goodbye, as there are numerous additional individuals in need of assistance. Finally, Skellig cryptically reveals to the kids that he is a cross between an angel, a bird, and a man. The happy children return to their homes after the man vanishes into the sky among the birds.